Welcome to E-Conversation, a podcast documenting modern-day e-commerce and changes within the industry. I'm your host, Alia Lali, and today we're going to be talking to an e-commerce manager at ASICS, Gabriel. Hi, Gabriel. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be on here and talk to you, kind of give a rundown about myself and the e-com industry as a whole. I've been with ASICS for about 4 years now. I joined the brand to kind of help rebuild their e-com system and platform and kind of bring them to let's call it the 21st century in that sense. Yeah, I've been in the e-com industry for 7 to 8 years now. So yeah, kind of feel like I have an in-depth knowledge about the industry as a whole.
Can you go in depth about like what you do in your position, your job?
Sure. At ASICS, as an e-com manager, 4 years ago, started to we re-platform, rebuilt. So kind of started e-com Canada from the ground up. So we started from, let's call it ground zero, built the full order flow, inventory management. So on a day-to-day, depends on the day, I guess, I manage the operations side of it. So making sure orders are getting to the DC and shipping out fine. Some days I'm managing just the customer service aspect of it, merchandising the site, dealing with our developers, kind of making sure everything is functioning correctly and customers are able to check out as smoothly as possible. So it's so cool. Every day is kind of a little bit different.
That's actually cool. Like it's kind of like an adventure in the workplace kind of thing, which is really cool.
You never know what bugs bugs happen and errors happen, so you never know what's going to throw your way each day, but it keeps it entertaining because it's not the same thing every day.
That is still so cool. Like I noticed that like you have a variety of experience with business field, as you have a brief experience with human resources, marketing, head office, and like e-commerce, of course. What inspired you to pursue e-commerce out of all these like fields?
So when I graduated from York University, I went into undergrad, knowing I wanted to kind of go into business and have that kind of base, but I didn't really know where I want to specialize. I thought HR was, what I want to do, kind of get into recruiting and headhunting. Thought that was like, the very entertaining kind of dream job. But after university, I did an internship, did a little bit of HR work and just learned that was not the one for me. Just did not like it at all. So then you kind of learn, I got a job after that, just working at a head office, learning a little bit about, web development, managing websites, SEO, and that kind of stuff. And that really piqued my interest. So that kind of got me onto that path of digital marketing in a sense. And that, as I was learning more about that, that slowly shifted to e-commerce when I got a position at Adidas. And I think, you kind of just learn what you love to do. Each job kind of helps you kind of progress into where you want to go and what you like about one job and don't like about the other. And you kind of tweak it into your next role. So, yeah.
Like, have your past jobs ever like kind of like made an effect to your current job, or they're kind of just like experience that you kind of gained, I guess?
It's a little bit of both. So definitely experience. As each job you learn, you gain experience in different industries and different factors. My first job was more of a small company, so you're dealing with people a lot closer. Where Adidas, you're one in a few hundred, but you're part of a team that's, call it 20, 30 people. And you really hone into a specific task or specific factor of the business. So you really learn what you like about that job and maybe what you don't like about that job. Same thing when I, was doing a little bit of HR work, you learned that I really didn't like that. And at Adidas, a lot of it was code base. So I realized I didn't really know much about HTML or coding. So I kind of went home and started teaching myself, and there's a lot of online kind of resources to kind of learn how to code. So kind of went home and, found that interesting and started learning about that. And that helped me kind of get to more of an e-com base, because you have that fundamentals of how to build a website or how to code and kind of the functionalities of it.
That's like an interesting journey based on what you've been telling me. I kind of have a question like related to that. As like you did say you did a lot of like managing, like specifically like in the e-commerce industry, what do you define success as a manager?
I think success could be defined differently for every individual and every business, right? For an undergrad, success can be just completing university, just getting your piece of paper at the end of the 4 years. To someone else, it could be graduating with honors. So I think the same thing kind of applies to e-com. Is depends on what the business goal for their e-com industry, I guess, sector of the business is. Do they want to look at growing the business 20% year over year? Is it a branding tool, just getting the customers to their website to learn more about the product and to really be able to tell their story about what the product is and what the benefits are? So I think for every business and every industry, that success may look differently, but growing it and kind of selling and driving top line revenue is typically the success, I guess, measurement.
That's like, wow. Like I agree with you with everything that you just stated, which like I think just more like if you grow as a person, it's just like beneficial in a way. Like success is like different, there's different meanings. It's very like a variety of meanings, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, depends on what that person's looking to gain, right? So, some people want to build a podcast while they're in university. They could, mark that on their resume saying, this is what I did, and I really grew that, which is great. So people just want to fly by and just, graduate, which is also great. It just, I guess it depends on that person and really what they, want to achieve from what they're doing.
How, and another question, like how has COVID-19 affected your job or affected like your workplace in general?
Well, working remote, I think for e-com, I think it's probably the easiest business to work remote, because I mean, at the end of the day, I just need my computer and I'm good, right? Being able to be home and kind of talk to your team on a day-to-day, that's definitely been a new learning curve. But what a lot of businesses has seen from what I've heard is now that everyone home or started to be at home at COVID, the whole industry went online, right? Everyone was shopping online rather than going stores because they're closed. So a lot of the traffic just went online. Sales skyrocketed across literally every business that I've heard of. So it's a lot more pressure to, how do we continue that growth? How do we continue leveraging people buying online, making sure that they're happy with their experience so we could keep them online moving forward.
Yeah, like I agree with like the learning aspect. Like literally people who I know, they're just like, oh yeah, no, sometimes I just struggle working at home. Sometimes I benefit from working at home. So it's like literally mixed feelings, which is like, I find it interesting. And like coming from you, it's like as an e-commerce, I would have expected it to be like a little bit harder, but it's actually like beneficial for the e-commerce like industry, which is cool and everything. But like within the e-commerce like industry, like growing as a whole, like rapidly, so the number of competitors, how has ASICS how is like ASICS keeping up with other competitors?
I mean, e-com as a whole changes, call it daily. Depends on the player. Like Amazon, as an example, really honed in on quick shipping. So, most users expect to hit click, make that purchase and have that package at their door either the same day or next day. So it may not be in the same, Amazon may not be a direct competitor for ASICS, but it's definitely changed the environment that, what consumers expect. So you kind of have to like lean into that, the fast shipping, making sure that when people make that purchase, they get it at their doorstep as quick as possible. And the same thing with other competitors, they're constantly, evolving, trying to make consumers shop at their website versus ours, and you kind of have to keep, improving yourself. You're improving your performances of, are we shipping quickly? Are we providing, easy returns to make the customer journey, a little bit more comfortable? Are you offering free shipping or not? Is that what, your competitors are doing? So I think every day you kind of have to look at your competitive landscape and saying, what are your competitors doing? What are they providing? And how can we kind of do that as well, if not do better?
Okay. Wow. That's I like how you like kind of linked with Amazon, which is like really interesting. Like Amazon's been like a huge e-commerce like source, and the fact that it's like your company's finding ways to do that, it's like really cool and everything. So like, what do you find challenging about your job?
So I'm gonna kind of loop this question with what I find challenging, but what I actually really enjoy about the job is that kind of what I mentioned at the beginning is that every day is a little bit different, right? So you never know when you're going to wake up and have an issue with the website just because a certain script failed or someone's having issues at the warehouse and we can't ship out products. Every day is a different challenge in that sense. So you never know what is going to come at your way. But at the same sense, that's kind of the favorite part of it, is that no day is the same. So, I mean, to me, that's entertaining. It keeps you on the toes. You're never doing the same thing twice, in a sense. And yeah, it's growing, it's evolving. It's learning how to adapt to the challenges and make that successful.
Like just like a random question, like apart from just like, finding bugs, like was there a time where you had to deal with a bug for like 1 or 2 business days, or like something just didn't like go right, and all of a sudden just like I guess like worked on it so long to the point where you finally made it right, I guess?
I mean, I feel like that's every other day. Yeah, I mean, some issues are, when you do a product, let's say a product upload, you accidentally include an apostrophe in the code, and the system doesn't like it. So you're kind of skimming through everything to find what it is. Sometimes it's as simple just finding that apostrophe and deleting it. Everything's good again. But some days it's in the e-com industry specifically, your system is connected to so many different other systems at the same time. You're connecting to your warehouse, your inventory management, to your email provider. And at any time, one of those can make an update that may not work with your site or may not be updated to the latest version. So some days you may have a bug and you don't know where it is, and it'll take you a week or a few days to see that, a vendor made an update, and you just gotta, do an update on your own system and find out. Someday it's a little bit more critical and the whole script failed, but that's the fun and challenging part is, you never know where that error is going to be or who made that change. And it takes you some time to kind of, backstep and see like, okay, what changes did you make? What changes did they make? And see if that was the cause, or you're just, shooting in the dark and kind of finding where that error is.
So it's just mostly like unexpected, I guess. Like that's what you're trying to say. It's just mostly unexpected and just like it's just like anything could happen kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you hope that it doesn't, and you kind of make sure that everything's working as it's supposed to. But yeah, you never know where that error can come from.
Makes sense. Where do you see the e-commerce industry going in like the next 5 to 10 years?
I mean, the it's tough because you never know which direction it could really go into. I think a lot of AI talk has been in play as of recently. Digitally trying on clothes to see how it kind of shows on you, or footwear, how you kind of see it on your foot. Buying digitally, that could be a big play. I think at Amazon at one point was talking about not charging consumers until they return the product. If they didn't return the product, so you know only pay if you kept it. In a sense, I mean, it's hard because you know COVID threw a huge wrench into the plans that no one expected. You know, everyone going online in the past 2 years, and some growth plans like went up a couple of years ahead of time just based on how that is. So that's a tough one. I don't know. You know, every day is a little bit challenging in that sense. So I mean, definitely people's expectations are growing of you know getting things quicker and having it at their fingertips. Buying through Instagram is growing, and those kind of stuff. So I think people just want things quicker and you know fitting right the first time rather than kind of yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on like AI like involving with the e-commerce industry? Like, what are just your general thoughts about it?
Um, AI. I mean, a lot of people want to see the integration with AI for ecom to see you know can they visually see the product on them before making that purchase, right? See if they're gonna like look on it, right? So you can make a digital call it avatar and kind of make your own design and kind of shop online via that way. Um, I don't know.
Have you ever like so far in your job, have you ever worked with like AI or like it's just mostly the coding aspect?
I haven't worked with AI yet. I think a lot of ecom functions like with ASICS or anyone else, it's you want to really hone in on the basics. You want to make sure that you know the basic functionalities are working, that people are getting what they want when they want it. In a sense, to make it easier for them to shop, has been really the driver for most businesses. And then you kind of play with any additional AI or fun tools to kind of see if that grows, but it hasn't been a big driver in revenue from what I've seen.
That's actually interesting. Like, would you ever be interested in like the next 5 or 10 years to actually work with AI or not really?
Yeah, I mean, if you know, if AI is the future, then you kind of have no choice but to kind of start learning and kind of seeing how that goes. You kind of have to adapt to how the marketplaces are going and how the industry is going. But you know, one step at a time, in a sense.
I would agree with that, like one step at a time. Like you can't just like, have something thrown at us other than the pandemic literally was just thrown at us, but that's like besides the point. As most of our listeners are students and young adults, do you have any tips or any advice for someone who's trying to get into the e-commerce industry?
Yeah, I mean, from my own experience, like learning that you know HR recruiting wasn't really the way you know I wanted to go, and I kind of learned that ecom is the industry that I wanted to focus on. I would say try it. I know the entry into ecom isn't you know that hard to enter. There's a lot of platforms like Shopify, Wix, you know all these systems that you know I would say give it a shot. Try buying some products on Amazon themselves and try to see if they can stand up a website and sell a few products or sell through eBay or Amazon. Just managing all the different aspects of ecom, you know, from the operations to customer service to marketing, and seeing if that's what they actually enjoy. And you know, learning that you have to wear multiple hats at one day to kind of put out different fires. So, and you never know that maybe they'll actually grow a successful business that they could continue growing past university. So I would just say give it a shot and see how it goes and see, you know, how all the different aspects of e-commerce come and play together with each other.
Well, that was our final question. I'd like to thank Gabriel, for being on this podcast. Do you have any questions or any comments that you would like to say?
Yeah, I think like I just said, give it a shot and kind of learn and see if the e-com industry is, you know, the path that you want to go down. And and just give it a shot and test it out. See if that's what you enjoy. It's all about A/B testing your life.
That's some great advice. But thank you so much for being on this podcast. Is the end of it. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.